Okay, we are not going to waste any time here. We are going to be hopping into a real money fantasy football draft, picking from the 5 spot. Now, at the beginning of the offseason, I was like 60, 70 drafts through, and I didn't really have many selections from picks 4, 5, 6. It was really weird. It was like all of the 112, 111, 101, 102. But since then, we are about 150, 200 drafts deep at this point. And I will say we have some experience. I am comfortable selecting at the 105. So I'll be excited to dive into the strategy in this draft. But of course, before we get into it, please go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. If for whatever reason you have not already, sit back, relax, enjoy a real money fantasy football draft. And I will just go through and let you know exactly what our plans are here at pick 5. We are going to most likely end up with Ja'Marr Chase. Now, if it's not Ja'Marr Chase, hell, I'm fine getting Justin Jefferson. I'm fine getting really any of these players inside the top 5. Obviously, you have no chance at Jonathan Taylor, but I've seen Kupp make it to 5 before. I've seen Jefferson make it to 5. I've seen Ja'Marr Chase. Obviously, he's the most common selection at pick 5, but let's see. Come on. I would love Jefferson. Please, bad MF. Let's go through. Take Chase for us. Let Justin Jefferson fall to 5. Come on. You want to. You want Ja'Marr Chase. The man was... There we go. Getting Justin Jefferson at pick 5. A great way to start off this draft. If we're looking at Justin Jefferson, this is a wide receiver that through the past 2 seasons was elite in any category that you want to look at except his touchdown rate. I'm actually excited about Jefferson with the new coaching staff coming over, with the potential thought that, hell, maybe they don't necessarily view Adam Thielen as one of the best red zone weapons in the entire NFL. Maybe instead they say, okay, well, Justin Jefferson going into year 3 on pace to be one of the best wide receivers of all time. Let's try to develop his usage. Let's try to get him more involved once we get inside the 10-yard line. And if that were to happen, and if all of a sudden we actually have Justin Jefferson with that elite level upside, we could have Jefferson from going as the wide receiver, 3 or 4 this past season, to now possibly the wide receiver 1 overall. It's in the range of outcomes, an extremely high floor, an extremely high ceiling. This is a no-brainer. Now, afterwards, you're seeing Stephon Diggs at pick 6. That's a little bit of a surprise. I personally am fine taking Diggs at pick 6 because of the running backs that you will see available to us once we get into the second, once we get into the 3rd round. But what is surprising is Derrick Henry, pick 11. Derrick Henry going behind Dalvin, going behind Travis Kelce, going behind Najee Harris. Y'all know at the beginning of the offseason, when Derrick Henry was going at the 102 or the 103 in these real money fantasy football drafts, I was looking around going, oh my gosh, people have lost their minds. You can't draft a 28-year-old running back here coming off significant injury with the workload that he has seen over the past 4 years. You can't take that player with the 2nd pick overall, with the 3rd pick overall. But pick 11, I'm going to be drafting Derrick Henry a lot this offseason, and this is where his ADP is falling to. Mike Evans goes to pick 15. Mike Evans was one of the targets that we were going to be looking at in the 2nd round, but hell, we are fine making the adjustment. And I know some people are probably wondering, why did you go Justin Jefferson in round 1? Why wouldn't you consider a Derrick Henry? Why wouldn't you consider an Austin Eckler? It's because these running backs that you're going to see available to us, there's a shot, just a chance, that we end up getting Nick Chubb coming back to us in the 3rd round. Now, y'all know I hated Nick Chubb in the 1st last year. Nick Chubb in the 3rd, someone I'm going to be targeting every single time. And if you take a running back in the 1st, it's difficult to be able to complete that specific roster construction. Now, Aaron Jones goes at pick 17. So at this point, we are hoping that we either get Mark Andrews or Deebo Samuel. Leonard Fournette goes. Okay, so we are going to get one of these. Oh my God.
Missed it by that much.
I thought we were going to be able to get Andrews. We will go ahead and we will take Deebo Samuel. I am concerned about regression hitting Deebo Samuel this upcoming season. Someone who had 8 rushing touchdowns, which that's not going to be the case again with Trey Lance coming over. Trey Lance will steal some of those rushing touchdowns at the goal line, but Deebo Samuel's 26 years old. He was the wide receiver 3 on a points per game basis last year. Hell yeah, I'll be fine drafting him here, especially knowing that we can get some running back value at the beginning of round 3. Maybe we end up going with someone like Javonte Williams. We were calling Javonte Williams an overvalued running back whenever he was being drafted at the end of the second, ahead of guys like Aaron Jones, ahead of Leonard Fournette, ahead of Alvin Kamara, ahead of Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley. Since then, he's fallen, so I wouldn't be surprised if we actually end up coming away with Javonte Williams at pick 29, because I would like to get one of those elite level running backs. And usually, I'm also in the back of my mind thinking, okay, do we want to go ahead and take Kyle Pitts? Do we want that elite advantage at the tight end position in particular? But you need to read the room every draft that you are in. You need to look around and go, okay, well, this draft room, let Mark Andrews fall to pick 19. If we know that these teams in the middle rounds are not going to prioritize grabbing that elite level tight end, not going to prioritize the position overall, I am going to be more willing to say, okay, well, we probably shouldn't be reaching on Kyle Pitts because there's a chance we get Darren Waller making it to us in the 4th, which of course would be exciting. Now, T. Higgins goes pick 25. Let's pull this up. Nick Chubb sitting at the top of ADP. I would be surprised if Nick Chubb were to make it back to us. Yeah, he goes at pick 26. I think if we were looking at a running back, it's going to end up being Javonte Williams. Oh, please, Javonte, make it. No, Javonte goes. Okay, our strategy now has completely changed. Mike Williams, hell, I'm fine. I am perfectly fine. I am not going to complain whatsoever in bringing in Keenan Allen with this selection. If you look at Keenan Allen, he is one of the only wide receivers in fantasy football that has had a top 10 finish 2019, 2020, 2021. I mean, the man is so damn consistent. His yards per route run, his air yards have been declining over the past 3 years, which, yes, we probably should be concerned that the old man is slowing down a bit, that the old man isn't exactly what he once was. To take Mike Williams over him does seem a little bit aggressive, though. So it looks like we're going to go with a wide receiver heavy build. If we were to go through and change anything we've done in this draft so far, honestly, no, I wouldn't change anything. I would have preferred getting Nick Chubb, Javonte Williams falling a little bit further, which in a lot of drafts happens. I mean, in a lot of drafts, you do see Mike Williams, you do see Keenan Allen sliding up to the beginning of the 3rd round and those other running backs falling, but it is what it is. We will pivot. And real quick, what I need to pivot to is this ad read and letting you know where we are drafting. We are drafting on Underdog Fantasy right now. If you have not, for whatever reason, hopped into one of these drafts on Underdog Fantasy, you are missing out. Probably the most fun thing you could ever do. And also, when you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy and you use promo code FLOCK, they will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You'll be able to get into drafts with me. I draft these teams all the time. We're clearing 200 drafted teams by now. We're going to get to 400, 500 real money fantasy football drafts by the time the season kicks off. You can support the channel. You get our rankings. You get our dynasty rankings. You get our dynasty rookie rank. You get so much. Find the link in the description. Find it in the live chat. Find it in the comment section. Y'all know by now. But Ezekiel Elliott going at pick 39. Zeke would have been a player that, of course, we would have taken at 44 if he were to make it to us. Now, the other running backs that we need to be on the lookout for, the next best guy, according to ADP, off the top of my head, is going to be Cam Akers. However, I am probably going to be willing to pass on Akers here in the 4th. If we end up getting either Justin Herbert or Darren Waller making it to us, we would want to grab that elite level quarterback in Justin Herbert to stack up with Keenan Allen. Now, I will say, never mind. I was going to say if Patrick Mahomes was still sitting there whenever we were on the clock, we probably would pass on Herbert, seeing if there's a small chance he could make it back to us at pick 53. But Terry McLaurin goes there. Ooh, this may be interesting. I really want me some Darren Waller. I really want Darren Waller making it here, and he probably will. Deontay Johnson goes, we are getting Darren Waller. Yes, we are passing up on the stack with Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. I'm not too concerned with doing that because every single one of these drafts in this tournament style is going to have the Justin Herbert team taking either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams. So I don't necessarily think that you're getting a massive edge. And when we take Darren Waller here, we are only going to have to take 2 tight ends in this draft. And also, one of my favorite picks in fantasy right now is going to be going Lamar Jackson in round 5. So let's see if we can set ourselves up for some Lamar Jackson action. We probably can, but of course, nothing is guaranteed. Okay, Gabriel Davis goes to pick 47. I know smarter people than me like Gabriel Davis in this range. Personally, I'm not one of them, and we do not get Lamar Jackson at pick 48. So it looks like maybe we are going to pivot back over and we are going to go with a running back with this pick. We could be looking at someone like Breece Hall would be the perfect example. Someone that does have upside to turn into a 3-down bell cow, or maybe just somehow Cam Akers makes it back to us at 53. That doesn't happen. Cam Akers indeed goes at 49. Breece Hall goes at 50. Oh, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. If Kittle is sitting here with our selection, now, of course, we can't take Kittle, but you could have made a strong argument on why we should have if we could have had that correlation with the 49ers offense with both Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, and then we could have taken our guy, Trey Lance, later on. You know we are going to be targeting Lance. Metcalf goes to pick 51. So it's going to come down to either Chris Godwin or Montgomery for me, but David Montgomery off the board. Let's go through and let's just take the temperature of this overall draft room. I know people are going to think I'm crazy. I promise you, I've done 200 of these drafts. I have a good idea what's going on here. We are going to go with a 6 running back approach. We're going to take Chris Godwin, pick 53, very similar to Keenan Allen. Over the past 3 years, Chris Godwin has averaged a wide receiver 1 finish. And now he's in a better situation. You have Russell Gage replacing Antonio Brown. Yeah, Mike Evans, another year older. Mike Evans has lost a step in his yards per route run every single season since 2019. So if we're looking at Chris Godwin stepping into the prime of his career, I understand he will miss the beginning part of the season. But we are drafting him as our wide receiver 4 here. So we should be able to cover up that production a little bit later on. So I'm completely fine with Chris Godwin at pick 53. Sometimes you get Josh Jacobs making it to you at the beginning of the 6th round, which of course we were hoping for. A little bit of a pipe dream knowing the running backs that went off right before. But to see Josh Jacobs go at pick 54, while Josh Jacobs is one of my most drafted running backs, I'm taking him at the 5-6 turn in so many of these drafts. To take him at pick 54 does seem surprising. Okay, so Amari Cooper goes at 57. Obviously, at this point, we want some wide receivers going. We want these wide receivers off the board. George Kittle makes it to pick 59. This is what I was talking about, reading the room, looking at the fact that when Mark Andrews falls to 19, you have a good idea that some of these other tight ends are going to fall past their ADP as well. Happy to see that we did not try to get cute with it. We did not try to draft a George Kittle at pick 53. I think we would have gone ahead and we would have ruined this team because I think we are going to see some tight ends fall dramatically in terms of just their average draft position. Okay, so Rashad Bateman, Brandon Cooks, Russell Wilson at pick 62. Russell Wilson going ahead of Jalen Hurts here. I understand you grabbed Courtland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy at the 3-4 turn, but A, you probably shouldn't have done that in the first place. And B, if you are going to do it, hell, roll the dice. See if Russell Wilson makes it back to you in the 7th. To go ahead and to reach on Russell Wilson over 10, 11 picks past his ADP, I think off the top of my head, it's hovering around, an ADP of 79? Taking him here at 62, that does seem pretty aggressive. Juju Smith-Schuster, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, perfect. Get these wide receivers going. And what I am looking for on the way back around, I know people in the chat probably think I am wanting a Mr. Antonio Gibson. No, I do not want Mr. Antonio Gibson. This is who we want. It's a pipe dream, but we just have to dodge 2 more teams. 2 more teams. If we get Jalen Hurts coming in, we can build around 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, 6 running backs. Brady goes, okay, 1 team to dodge. 1 team to dodge. This team took Josh Allen. They have a very nice roster. But come on, give us Jalen Hurts. Give us Jalen Hurts. Tony, do not do it to us. Do not do it to us, Tony. He goes Elijah Mitchell. We're going to go ahead and we are going to take a Jalen Hurts, pick 68. With Jalen Hurts, we don't have any of the passing game options in Philadelphia, but you know what? I don't care because you're drafting Jalen Hurts not because of the passing volume in Philly. You're drafting Jalen Hurts based off the rushing upside, and the rushing upside alone. Last year, the man had 4, 5, 6 games with 200 passing yards. However, he was the quarterback 6 on a per game basis. We can assume that he's probably better this upcoming season, going into his 2nd season starting, going into Devontae Smith's 2nd year, going into his 1st season with AJ freaking Brown. Love Jalen Hurts here at pick 68. And we are probably still going to end up with Antonio Gibson making, maybe we end up with Antonio Gibson making it back if we look at this turn here. There are not too many teams that need running back. The team right before us is sitting with David Montgomery and David Montgomery alone. But still, DeAndre Hopkins goes at the 701. Good for us. We do not want these wide receivers available. We want these wide receivers gone. Now the question is, would we reach on A.J. Dillon? I know a lot of people are screaming, yes, Mason, you fool. You have to reach on A.J. Dillon if he makes it here. I probably would agree with you, but hell, while we were talking about Antonio Gibson being dramatically overvalued at the beginning of the offseason, getting Antonio Gibson here at pick 77. Oh my, y'all got to give me props on this team, right? What I expect from you right now is to go down to that comment section and go, Mason, hey, every mean thing that I've ever said to you, every time I've called you an idiot, every time I've called you a fool, maybe I was right, but I owe you an apology because I shouldn't have been mean in the first place. That's what we're expecting down there in the comment section, because we get Antonio Gibson here, running back 1, pick 77. We have an elite quarterback, an elite tight end, the best wide receiver core, at least one of the best receiver cores in this league, with Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Keenan Allen, and Chris Godwin. Directly after, we have Adam Thielen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire going off the board. Ooh, I know Antonio Gibson definitely has his worries. Yes, we were screaming how bad Antonio Gibson was when people were drafting him in the 5th round. This was a running back that led the NFL in fumbles last year. This is a running back that the coaching staff went out there and re-signed J.D. McKissick. They took Brian Robinson inside the top 100. We all know this by now. But still, looking at the size-adjusted athleticism, looking at just the long shot of hope that we could potentially have Antonio Gibson one of these days, catching the football out of the backfield as if he was a wide receiver in college. I'm completely fine taking him at pick 77. Afterwards, we have some wide receivers going off. This is good for us. We still are loaded up with the receiver. I mean, we have Deebo Samuel, we have Keenan Allen, we have Justin Jefferson, we have Chris Godwin. What we want on the way back around is probably not going to happen based on where the rest of this draft went ahead and took these quarterbacks. What I would love is Trey Lance. Of course, I always say that. We always would love Trey Lance, but especially in the 8th round, he goes at pick 86. Never mind. I was going to say in the 8th round where we could pair him up with Deebo Samuel. That would have been very exciting. It is what it is. We need to move on. We need to adjust. I'd be fine with either one of these running backs. A good thing we are seeing people start to adjust. That Sky Moore ADP was probably one of the worst ADPs in all of Underdog Fantasy. Sky Moore used to be going in the middle to the back half of the 7th round. Like, what? But here, pick 92, I honestly probably wouldn't even be excited about Sky Moore. Like, if we're going through, if I'm mapping out who I want in this range, this is probably the order I would take these guys. MVS goes to pick 88. Okay, so Marcus Valdes-Scantling over Sky Moore. I'm not going to disagree with you in a best ball format. In a best ball format, if you want to do that, it's definitely bold to go through and to reach on MVS. How far ahead of ADP? About 11 picks ahead of ADP when Sky Moore is sitting there. But I think if we're looking at the range of outcomes on a week-to-week basis for Sky Moore versus Marcus Valdes-Scantling, not too different. Tyler Lockett goes. That would have been the wide receiver we would have liked, but clearly this team wants running backs. Right now we still are lacking at the RB position with only Antonio Gibson. Stafford goes. So we are going to get one of Kenneth Walker or Tony Pollard, and we are getting Kenneth Walker, our preferred running back. We are getting him at pick 92 as our running back 2 in this draft. Just to go through, show off this draft board. Oh, it's beautiful. Now, if we're looking at quarterbacks that we can be targeting later on to fill these stacks, yeah, we passed on Herbert in the 4th. I'm honestly fine with us passing on Herbert. We are going to want to try to get Kirk Cousins coming in with this team. Kirk Cousins would be a target for us probably in the 10th round. I don't know if we can wait until round 11. Sometimes he falls there, but the issue is if we look at these teams at the turn, they don't have the elite level quarterbacks. They have passed on quarterbacks up until this point. So I know we are talking far in advance, but you have to be thinking through these things when you're in these drafts. I would be surprised if we could pass on Cousins at pick 116 and still get him at pick 125. Maybe he's not even there at 116, but that's what we were going to hope for. Okay, so a little bit of a wide receiver run happening here. I don't really care one way or another. Y'all know a running back that I love, Kareem Hunt. I would take Cordell Patterson over Hunt just to respect the ADP, when Cordell Patterson's going over Kareem Hunt in the majority of these drafts. I think we would have to make that same decision. What I'm hoping for is I'm hoping that someone takes Cordell Patterson so we don't even have to make that decision and we can just get our guy Hunt coming in. Or you know what? I need to be smart. We have Jalen Hurts. If Dallas Goedert were to fall, I think instead we probably need to be going Dallas Goedert. We've already locked ourselves into a 6 running back build. We want to stop at 2 tight ends. Having both Darren Waller and Dallas Goedert would be completely fine. Kareem Hunt goes. So at this point, we really want Dallas Goedert making it to us. This team took Dalton Schultz earlier. Yeah, they go Kadarius Toney. So let's grab Dallas Goedert, pair him up with his quarterback in Jalen Hurts to capture some of that correlation and the stack. Outside of that, now we are wanting Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins needs to make it back to us in round 10, which I honestly think has a good shot of happening. If we look at the teams that need quarterback, a lot of them are over this side of the draft that have already picked, and we don't necessarily have to worry about it. Like a lot of the teams on our right side of the draft board, left side, depending on how you're looking at it, those teams already have QB. So we don't have to worry about them taking him. When you have someone like Brady and Stafford paired up, when you have Russell Wilson, Trey Lance paired up, I think Allen went on this side of the draft board as well. Robert Woods, Christian Watson go directly after us. We started off very strong at receiver. I'm fine seeing these wide receivers continue to go, even though we are going to have to start taking more of these guys after Cousins. We could go running back. Running back's the value. We have so many different options whenever we started the draft this way. Tyler Boyd ends up going at pick 105. And let me just recap and show why we did not panic. Like I said, done 200 of these drafts. At this point, if I don't know what I'm doing, I should be embarrassed and I should not waste your time by making videos. This is why we don't panic in the 5th and reach on Jacobs when he has an ADP here at about pick 64, 63. That's why we don't panic and reach on Dobbins. Is why we take the last wide receiver in that tier in Chris Godwin, saying we know teams are going to have to start taking receiver later on. We know we can get these running backs falling to us. So what happened with Antonio Gibson, pick 77. So what happened with Kenneth Walker. And I think it's probably going to continue to happen. We'll see what these teams do on the turn. They are going with the running backs in this range. And this is just a beautiful range overall. Like if we're looking at rounds 9 and 10, like round 10 here at the turn where you're getting Devin Singletary and Chase Edmonds, is that too different than what you're looking at with, say, Damian Harris? Like what's the real difference between Damian Harris and Edmonds? I don't necessarily see one. Okay, we are probably going to end up getting Kirk Cousins making it to us at pick 116. If Rodgers is there, we probably will pass on Cousins, assuming that one of the other teams will go ahead and take Aaron Rodgers, and there's a decent chance Cousins makes it back. Here's, I think, the plan. James Cook, if Aaron Rodgers is there, if Aaron Rodgers goes, then we may just have to, quote-unquote, reach on Kirk Cousins. ADP of 120. Our next pick would be 125. And what's more concerning is the fact that there are all these picks here in the middle, a team with 0 quarterbacks, then 1 quarterback, 1 quarterback, 1 quarterback, 1 quarterback, 0 quarterbacks. I would be afraid about them taking Kirk Cousins. Aaron Rodgers goes. Pat Frymuth off the board at the 114. Dawson Knox. Okay, here's where boys become men, and I will always, of course, stay a boy. But you know what? Looking at the fall off that we are going to have at the running back position, knowing that we already have an elite guy in Jalen Hurts, I think we go ahead and we take James Cook when they give the gift of a running back that goes in round 2 of the NFL draft that is supposedly a very good pass catching running back. And we need an RB3. And most importantly, he's in an elite offense. Now, like I said, we are rolling the dice. I am not going to throw a hissy fit. I am not going to be Mr. Sad Boy whenever you have Kirk Cousins going. But the Adam Thielen team is picking after us. If Adam Thielen was, say, drafted by this 101 team or the 102 or the 103, and it would make it more likely that they themselves went Kirk Cousins, maybe we change our mind and go Cousins instead of Cook. But hell, sometimes you got to risk it. Okay, Tim Patrick goes at 119. God, I love that James Cook pick 116. And it's very good to see these tight ends going. I was concerned when we take Dallas Goedert at 101 to stack with Jalen Hurts that all of a sudden you are just not going to see any more tight ends going off the board, especially when we saw George Kittle fall. How far? Like George Kittle falling to the end of the 5th. I was concerned that you were not going to get any more tight ends off, but it looks like this draft room is being reasonable when it comes to tight end. Okay, so Gabe goes Ronald Jones, pick 121. We have to dodge 3 teams. Really, only 2. This is the last team we have to dodge for Cousins. They don't have a quarterback. They go Gallup. Oh my gosh. Let's freaking go.
Thank you, Chuck Norris.
Thank you, Peter.
Let's bring in Kirk Cousins as our second quarterback. I know Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins have the same bye. I get it. I will sacrifice the 20 points that 1 week to have a unique build, to have the highest ceiling possible during that tournament stretch. Oh, that is a beautiful getting Kirk Cousins. I could not be more excited about our decision to take James Cook at pick 116. That literally could be the decision that wins us this league. That one decision there could be the decision that wins us our league. I think up until that point, like our draft has been very standard. Like it would have been nice getting Nick Chubb, Javonte Williams making it to us at pick 3, but it is what it is. Like you have to just make the best decision in front of you. I think we did that through the first 3 rounds. I think everybody would have done what we did. I mean, let me know in the comment section if you think that you would have done something differently. But Darren Waller in the 4th, I think that's a standard decision as well. Godwin in the 5th, maybe. That's us going off the rails. Maybe that's a real decision that other people wouldn't agree with. Maybe they would go RB. But then Jalen Hurts at pick 68, very standard. Antonio Gibson, 77, very standard. Kenneth Walker, 92, standard. Dallas Goedert, 101, standard. I think really the only decision that we've had to make up until this point that was hard, like I said, turns boys into men, even though I will admit I'm still a small boy, sadly, is that 116 James Cook versus Kirk Cousins pick. Okay, so after this, we have a wide receiver run happening. We do need wide receivers. Now we are no longer drafting quarterback. We are no longer drafting tight end. We have those positions covered. It's just going to be bringing in 3 more running backs, and we're going to fill out this wide receiver room to 8 total receivers. Dameon Pierce, Rashad White go here at the end, and I don't even know what we want. Obviously, we want to see tight ends and quarterbacks go, but I think you're just going to inherently see a lot of running backs off in this range. Okay, let's pull this up. Get Mike Gesicki off. The last thing we want to be looking at is Mike Gesicki on the board. Here are the only players that we can really choose from at this point. Oh, this is brutal. We need these tight ends. We need these quarterbacks going. These are the players. If I had to choose someone from this list that I would be most excited about with this build, I would really like the idea of bringing in Jahan Dotson. Or honestly, all these guys are kind of the same. Isaiah Spiller goes to pick 135. This team, I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and they take a running back. They go Gesicki. No, good. Get that second tight end off. They took TJ Hawkinson a little bit earlier. Here, this team does not have a tight end yet. Go ahead, take a tight end. Get one of these guys. Robert Tonyan. Perfect. Jacoby Myers off. The teams between us, this team here has 5 RBs. They cannot continue to take running backs. They're literally done. This team has 4 running backs. So you know what? I would be willing to roll the dice that we get these RBs making it back to us. I really like Jahan Dotson, and I think in a vacuum, if I had to rank these players, I would rank Dotson over Van Jefferson. Now, the issue is when we take Chris Godwin's going to miss the beginning of the season and potentially start slow. So I would be less willing to take another rookie wide receiver with this build because we probably need some production to overcome the lack of what we are going to be seeing from Chris Godwin right at the beginning of the season. So let's pass on Dotson. Let's go Van Jefferson instead. And I actually think that there's a decent shot that this team here, bad MF, they go running back. But outside of them, I wouldn't be surprised if this 6-pick stretch didn't really have any RBs off the board. Okay, so Robbie Anderson, 141. Tua Tagovailoa, 142. Good. That's what we need to see. Get those quarterbacks, get those tight ends off. This team does not have a tight end that's on the clock right now. Please take Irv Smith Jr. Now they go Dotson. It is what it is. I don't want to get greedy. I don't want to act like we need both Dotson and Kirk Cousins fall into us, even though it would have been nice. Irv Smith Jr. finally off. They only have 1 quarterback and 1 tight end still, so don't be surprised if they go back-to-back tight ends. That's exactly what they do. They take Cole Kmet, pick 145. This team it does not have a tight end yet. They take Tyler Algier. Is that the team that already... No, they only had 4 running backs. They only had 4 running backs. We don't need to freak out. Perfect. This is almost exactly what we wanted. We are going to go ahead. We are going to take Michael Carter Jr., a running back that should have a receiving role at the beginning of the season. Possibly to overcome the lack of production that we'll be getting from Kenneth Walker, from James Cook. And then hopefully, this is the hope, that by the time Breece Hall takes over as the 3-down bell cow, by the time that happens, Kenneth Walker or James Cook have taken over as the starting running back in one of their backfields. That's what we need. And then even afterwards, Michael Carter Jr. does have value in this league because then he will transition over to being a primary handcuff RB. So while we were screaming how bad he was, how he was one of the worst picks in fantasy, when even after the NFL draft, even after Breece Hall was drafted there, he was going in round 10, round 11 in these. Now that you've seen him fall as far as pick 149, I'm fine taking Michael Carter. I'm sure that a ton of y'all have seen us draft him. Okay, so we have some wide receivers going off the board. Not too much of a surprise. We are still in the mindset, get quarterbacks, get tight ends off. This team on the clock does not have a second quarterback yet. They go Kenneth Gainwell. I like Kenneth Gainwell this year. I mean, he's running behind an elite offensive line. And on top of that, with Kenneth Gainwell, this is a running back that last season had a very large role in the receiving game. Not only did he have a very large role in the receiving game, but on top of that, this is a running back that had a role in the red zone, which I know the touchdown rate will come down this upcoming season. It's not like he's going to score as many touchdowns as he did last year. But still, if something were to occur to Miles Sanders, I could see upside in year 2 when you have no Jordan Howard on this team. Darrell Williams continuing to rise in ADP. Darrell Williams just gets higher and higher every single time you do these drafts. David Njoku, pick 157. Good for us. Tyrion Davis-Price. Oh, I love me some Tyrion Davis-Price. I tweeted out the lead running back for the Kyle Shanahan 49ers. 2017, Carlos Hyde. 2018, Matt Breida. 2019, Tevin Coleman. 2020, Jeff Wilson. 2021, Elijah Mitchell. That's pretty exciting for Tyrion Davis-Price, not going to lie. Okay, so let's pull this up. Obviously, we hate seeing Hunter Henry at the top of this board. We want Hunter Henry off. This team already has 2 tight ends, so they're probably not going to do that. Do we just go ahead and take Joshua Palmer? I feel like it would be difficult for us to justify a James Robinson selection here because with Robinson, he will miss the beginning of the season, of course. And what we need right now are running backs that are going to get touches at the beginning of the season. So instead, I think we go with the wide receiver that has a week-to-week ceiling, especially if we're building in correlation when we already have a piece of this Los Angeles Chargers offense in Keenan Allen. So we're going to go Joshua Palmer. And then later on, maybe, we grab someone like Brian Robinson and just monopolize those touches in Washington. Winston goes at pick 167. Good for us. Get Higbee, get Daniel Jones off the board. Higbee, Daniel Jones, Everett. We need to see those 3 guys gone. This team on the clock, Gabe, he only had 1 quarterback, so the Daniel Jones selection is not surprising, especially when he has Saquon Barkley on the same roster. He has 4 RBs. It could happen where he ends up going James Robinson. His 4 running backs are Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Cam Akers, Ronald Jones. So maybe he's done drafting RB. Maybe instead he goes Marvin Jones or Wandale to get the stack in with Daniel Jones. He goes Tyler Higbee. Great for us. Go get that 3rd tight end. I mean, he only had Irv Smith Jr., Cole Kmet. I agree. If you start with those 2, you do need a 3rd tight end. This team does not have a tight end yet. Oh, go. Please take Everett. Take Gerald Everett. Get Everett off the board. Or Noah Fant. I'm not going to be great. You get your choice of tight ends. He goes Noah Fant. Okay, perfect. And then we have another team, only 1 tight end here. Take Everett. Get him off. He goes Gerald Everett. Hell yes. And this team just took Keel Herbert. Maybe we actually end up getting Robinson, even though we were just talking about how he's not a natural fit with this roster. But if we were getting him at pick 173, I'll just take it. Obviously, we're concerned with the torn Achilles. It is what it is. We can live. Let's go through and let's show our roster real quick. Like I said, we are drafting at the 105. And let me repeat myself. I know people love it when I repeat myself. But if, for whatever reason, you have not signed up for Underdog Fantasy yet, you have not hopped into these drafts, fix your life, have some fun in your life, go to the link in the description, and you can find a link to Underdog Fantasy when you use promo code FLOCK. They'll match a deposit dollar for dollar to 100, and you'll get all our content pretty much. And if we follow through this wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin. Later on, we brought in Van Jefferson, Joshua Palmer. Tight end, Darren Waller, Dallas Goedert. Quarterback, Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins. Running back, Antonio Gibson, Kenneth Walker, James Cook, Michael Carter Jr., and James Robinson. Oh, y'all got to give me some props on this team, right? This is nice. AJ Green, Wandale Robinson going off here at the turn. We are wanting to bring in some more wide receivers. We need 1 more running back, I believe, for this build and 2 more receivers. Will Fuller is someone I've been taking over and over again. Odell Beckham Jr. off the board, 184. Romeo, I can't get behind it. I know some people are trying to hype him up compared to, say, a Christian Watson. Christian Watson's a guy. Come on. Okay. I guess we just end up going Will Fuller, as we almost always do. Let's go Will Fuller, 11 picks behind ADP, just looking for some random spike weeks in best ball. After this, I think at the running back position, I would love me some Donta Foreman. I would love me some Brian Robinson. I'd even be fine with Raheem Mostert. Y'all know we were talking about how bad Raheem Mostert was of a draft pick back when he was going like the 14th. If we're getting Raheem Mostert as one of our last 2 selections, it's priced in that there is the outside chance that the Miami Dolphins just move on from him before the season even starts. So let's see. Hayden Hurst, Raheem Mostert goes at 191. I'm fine with that price point. Where he was going earlier was ridiculous. Gabe goes Julio Jones. Julio's been falling in these drafts a ton. Okay. We want one of these running backs, and then we will just go through and grab a receiver in the last round. Come on. Taysom Hill goes at 193. Yeah, we're going to get one of these guys. Unless we see both of these RBs go back to back. I would be fine with Marlon Mack. Maybe you want to make the argument that Marlon Mack has the starting job in Houston at the beginning of the season before they transition over to Dameon Pierce, and that could be good for this team in particular. In reality, I wish we were live streaming this. I wish I could ask the chat who y'all prefer between Brian Robinson and Don Foreman. We'll go ahead. We'll take Brian Robinson Jr., a running back that was selected in the top 100 draft picks. We are taking him on the same team that has Antonio Gibson. Usually I'm not a fan of handcuffing, but look at the value. And Brian Robinson Jr. is one of my most drafted running backs so far. Okay. So let's go through, scroll this down. And our wide receiver, if we're looking at guys that are going to be a part of the Kirk Cousins offense, that are going to be a part of the Jalen Hurts offense, honestly, there are no 18th round dart throws that I really care about. So instead, we're just going to grab the wide receiver that I like most. And y'all know usually that guy's Devin Duvernay. I love getting me some Devin Duvernay as the wide receiver 2 in Baltimore. Technically the wide receiver 3 if we're counting Mark Andrews as a receiver, but he goes in the 17th, so that's not going to be viable for us. Maybe we end up getting a Laviska Shenault. If we don't get a Laviska Shenault, someone that I've been taking to be unique and to not have the same player pool as everyone else is I have been going Tyquan Thornton in some of these drafts, which I wouldn't be completely opposed to doing here if we don't have any of our other options fall to us. Kendrick Bourne goes. It seems like I've been getting more and more Kendrick Bourne. 6 picks away. The wide receivers, I'm not taking Paris Campbell at all. I'm not taking Nico Collins, really. I would prefer Laviska over them. If we don't get Laviska Shenault, hell, we'll just go through and we'll get Tyquan. Or you know what we could do? We already have the correlation in here with Los Angeles. We have Joshua Palmer. We have Keenan Allen. Maybe we can just say, oh, okay, well, what happens if Mike Williams goes down? Mike Williams goes down. Keenan Allen would probably get a bump. Joshua Palmer would probably get a bump. And Jalen Guyton may get a bump as well. So if Laviska's off, maybe we go Jalen Guyton. I know we're doing mental gymnastics here. Obviously, this probably doesn't make sense, but hell, mental gymnastics really have never hurt anybody. Okay, Tony on the clock. I love drafting next to Tony. I don't think Tony ever sniped us. I think Tony can draft next to me any day of the week. And let's go through, show off this draft room one more time. I hope this live stream was able to help you out. I hope that we did a fine job, or at least a somewhat decent job, going through my thought process and strategy overall from the 105. But of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock, supporting the channel. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Really hope you got something from it. And if you want to get into our next draft with us, we do this every single day on the live stream. Go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Link in the description. You know the promo code flock. But thank you again. Hope you have a great day, and hope we get to see you with the video tomorrow.